Brandon, from the start of training camp to now, working with Lombardi and Herbert, how much has that offensive scheme changed from the starting point?
I think we've learned a lot more about each other just because the spring wasn't live. So I think Justin got a full course in how we want to play and kind of the full inventory of what the offense could look like. But you don't know what routes he likes, what personnel groupings that we're going to feature with our own players. The only way you can truly establish that is getting that on the field timing, and so that's been fun to work through. And what I've enjoyed about it, there's a lot post-practice that happens in learning about Justin as a quarterback, so that's why we stay after practice and create that routine so that we can discover even more. But I think those two have grown closer. I think that it's so important. Trust doesn't happen right away, and so I think those two have done a nice job of learning about how one another communicates. And then that's a full process with Shane Day, the rest of our offensive staff, and then our quarterback room with Chase and Easton. You know, you're really trying to create that think tank in there where everybody can work together well, and I think that that's what's happened. And then we really try and activate a lot of our receivers too. I think, learning those guys too, receivers, tight ends, and bringing all those guys together, I think Justin's done a really good job of that and coming into his own that way. So we'll see where it goes, but I liked how training camp has established itself.
Brandon, is Brian Malloy going to practice today?
He will, full.
How did he look on Friday or on Monday?
Monday, he looked good. He went through the whole practice and then felt good afterward, as importantly, felt good on the off day. And I know he was here yesterday, got a really good lift in, and we're excited to get the work week kind of officially kicked off here today.
Is he trending toward playing?
Yes.
I imagine for you, Coach, Sunday will be somewhat of a culmination of a professional dream. What do you think you might be thinking on the sideline leading into the kickoff?
I'm going to be thinking about all their players, and I'm going to be thinking about all of our players, and I'm going to be totally focused on the plan. To your question, I mean, it's a dream come true. I'm getting to live my dream, but I feel like I was living my dream at John Carroll and at Hutchinson too. I know that this is a much bigger stage. I recognize that, but I feel like my dreams are just getting started. And it's my dream to be a competitor, and I think that we get a chance to do that against a really good team. And it's an honor to be a head coach in the NFL. That's the one thing that I know, and that it's a responsibility I take really seriously every day. So it's an honor, and I'm excited to compete with our team. It's our first chance as a team to compete, and I'm really looking forward to seeing our guys play on Sunday.
Where is Justin Jackson at? Is he at full go at this point?
Yeah, Justin Jackson's full go. He's been active on offense and in the kicking game, so he's really made a nice recovery from that groin, and really proud of him and his response to that injury. I know that we talked about it a little bit a few weeks back, but I think all of us are aware of his injury history in the pros, and I think what he's done better than ever is really attack that rehab and get himself in a really good frame of mind. Not, because the mindset is as important as the physical side of things, and so he's had a nice recovery, and I'm really proud of his progress, and he's an asset for our football team.
Do you feel like you're going to need to ease him in on Sunday, or is he?
I don't think so. He's practiced full, Daniel, and like I said, that's why I'm so optimistic. Is I've seen the movement, I've seen the change of direction. It hasn't been individual only, or even in team drills we're kind of snap counts and pitch counts and stuff like that. He's been able to go full, and that's exciting.
I think the other day Marshall wasn't practicing.
Trey? Yeah, Trey's still recovering from a little bit of an ankle. He had like a residual, in the preseason against Minnesota in their first preseason game. So, coming to a new team, we just want to make sure that, hey, we're at the beginning of the season, make sure that it's a long season and that he can be the Trey Marshall that we know that he's capable of being. So we're just making sure that ankle is fully recovered. And it also gives him a chance, too, of just acclimating to our system and being able to, fully connect in how we're doing things now, because there are a lot of differences. So it's more than anything just playing the long game with him, but nothing long term.
Brandon, have you and Darius talked about who will be the kickoff returner on Sunday?
Yes, we have. We're still working through that this week. But that group of guys that I talked about last week, those are going to be the feature guys. I would say that Nas right now is in the lead in that role, but we have those other guys too, Larry, Justin, KJ. So we're just going to kind of play the rest of the week out, but we're excited to see those guys progress.
And is KJ still the punt returner?
Yes, KJ is still the punt returner.
With Nas, in terms of how he's fitting into the defensive scheme and how you've seen him develop, I feel like we haven't checked in on
in a while, because obviously a very key piece in your defensive success. How have you seen him develop? Where is he at right now, both mentally and physically?
I think, Daniel, so much of being a young player is finding that confidence. It's one thing to, I think, have the talent to play in the NFL, and Nas has a lot of talent, but that talent never expresses itself when you have full confidence in what you're doing. Not only your own scheme, defense, having command of your techniques and your schemes, but then what's on the other side of the football. And I think that he's come a long way. Ronaldo Hill, Derek Ansley, and Tommy Donatel have really taken this guy, and he's dove in with them. And I think he's learned a lot more ball, and I think you see a lot more confidence out there on the field. And I think that you can measure that with his communication, and then post-snap, what his play style looks like. Hey, is he running like all over the place when he should just be calm, right? Or is he calm when he should be running fast somewhere? You can measure his play style, and I feel like he's really starting to assimilate nicely in how we want to play. We expect big things from him this year and on Sunday, and he's doing a really good job from a communication standpoint, which allows us to play the way we want to play in the secondary, moving guys around. And then, the big thing about him that is to be determined is how well he's going to tackle when it's live. So much about defensive players is, hey, how well are you going to tackle when it's live? And so we're going to find out about that on Sunday. And I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Just with a guy like him, you obviously have a vision for what he's going to look like in your defense. When you think about, okay, so he's going to get on the field, obviously play in the preseason, get on the field here with the ones in meaningful games. Is it an excitement for you to see how he actually expresses himself in the defense? Is that the primary feeling for you?
Yeah, it's been so much, Daniel. I think it's an excellent question. I really like how he is every day right now. Like, he comes into the facility and there's an energy where you can tell that he's enjoying working at his game. And I think that that's been fun for us, is that he's a ball guy. And when things don't go well, he can respond quickly, which is so much of being a competitor, is just being able to overcome things quickly and keep it moving. But there's great opportunity for him. We're counting on him. And I think that he understands that. And he's been accountable to his teammates. I think that the guys that have played with him, like Derwin will say, like, yeah, Nas is different. He's different. He's better. And that means a lot coming from Derwin James, because he has high standards for his teammates and what he expects for them. So I think guys like him and Chris Harris do a great job for us of kind of being that barometer of the temperature of the group. And Nas, I feel like is trending positive.
Different from last year to this year?
I think so. Yeah, I think their vibe with him is much different in a good way.
Brandon, what's it been like to work with Justin Herbert? I mean, you said when you got here you were excited to get to work with him. Now that you've been with him for a couple of months, what's it been like? I
think it's been a work in progress. We've gotten to know each other so much more, and I think that that's allowed us to do so much more. And so it takes time with people, and I think everyone just expects so much from him, so much from us, and it's like that can't happen right away, So I feel like what we've done is we've kind of learned about one another, and hey, when's the right time to do this? When can we carve out our time and space and have it happen naturally, but also make sure that it happens, because our communication is premium. So I think we've done a good job of establishing that, and me being able to spend time with the offensive staff and in the quarterback room. And I feel like I've learned a lot about him. I think he's learned a lot about me and us on defense. And, the way we play on offense, being able to make suggestions or, hey, like talking about the game plan in depth. And I think that we're still at the beginning of that for sure. But now we get to respond to real game competition, and we'll know where our relationship is as the season goes on. Because once you start playing games and lots at stake, that's when you really got to test your relationship. And I know this. I couldn't ask more from a starting quarterback. As you guys know, he was elected captain, and the way he works on a day-to-day basis, it really pushes you as a coach, because you're trying to be your best for guys like that.
How has the relationship with Justin and the receivers grown? How have you seen that grow over since minicamp to today?
Yeah, I think that he's able to tell him where he's putting it, and they can tell him, where they feel like it's going to be. Hey, I'm going to throw this route to Jared Cook this way. I'm going to throw this route to Donald Parham that way. Mike Williams is going to, hey, I'm going to give him this chance where, hey, Josh, I'm not going to do that with you. Hey, this is how you're going to beat press versus how I beat press. And I feel like all those little things, Justin's been able to address more man-to-man and take more ownership that way. And he's still at the beginning, but you can tell that he has full respect from his teammates. And I think what he's doing is he's kind of getting into his rhythm as the leader of our offense. And I think it's what's where he's very fortunate when you're around Keenan Allen, you know, that's like having another quarterback out there. And I think that really helps Justin in a big way. And I think that they can kind of feed off each other. And then Keenan can kind of talk to the other receivers for Justin at times, be that mouthpiece too, because he's kind of an extension of Justin. And I feel like it's been a fun group to watch.
Along those same lines, how has he received your defensive kind of coaching and mentorship and implemented that into his game? How have you seen that kind of grow and develop over the last training camp?
Justin just knows a lot more football. I think when you're in the NFL, you learn so much more. 1 year ago, guys, what he knew, what I knew, like, are totally different. I look back at my tape last year, I'm like, man, I wasn't very good, you know, compared to where I am now. And I think that that's how he feels. And I think that he's learned so much about his game fundamentally, you know, and then learning a new offense. And then defensively, I think he just is more aware of what's out there. And I think so much as a young quarterback is being to identify what's on the other side of the football. Because all these quarterbacks that go out there, guys, are really sharp. I mean, there's not a quarterback that goes out there that isn't impressive, okay? It's a really hard job. So they're all sharp. Justin's particularly sharp. But I think so much of it is what's on the other side of the ball, because that really allows you to play fast and free. And I think hopefully what we've done with our defense is get him a lot of shots at what's on the other side of the ball, being able to identify a lot from a personnel grouping standpoint, front standpoint, pressure, coverage. And I think the more you see as a player, the better you get. I mean, if you hear all these great quarterbacks that have ever played, the Hall of Fame quarterbacks, you know, that just talked at the Hall of Fame ceremony, they just talked about all their experiences and how much better you get as you go and that reflection. And so I think he's learning a lot. And, you know, that's something that's a strength of his, is he's a perfectionist. He knows that he has to learn more. He doesn't ever feel like he has it all figured out. And that's why he's going to be successful.
What's it been like seeing the confidence and kind of ownership, because you kind of want the offense and the system flowing through him?
Yeah, Joe, it's an excellent point. I think that your offense will never be as good as it can be if your quarterback doesn't become the face of the offense. And so I think that that's what Justin's been able to do in his own way, because I think when people say face of the offense, they have this idea of what it should be. What it should be is Justin Herbert. You know, he's different than everybody else. And I think that that's what I think has been good for him. Like I said, him being elected captain is a great sign, you know, with as many votes that he got. I mean, from his teammates, the way they feel about him and the way they think about his ownership, that's what's exciting, because that's what means the most. It doesn't matter what I think as much as what his teammates think. And so I think that everybody that's in that huddle believes in him. And not just because he's a special talent, because of who he is. And that is, I think, you know, you guys have heard me say it, is one of his greatest strengths, is that he's one of the guys.
What's the process been like, just like in game planning this week, like him going, this will work, this might not work, I saw this on tape, that it just lending his ideas?
Yeah, just yesterday, just being in the quarterback room with him, Chase and Easton, you know, I got a coffee and was able to like spend some time in there and just seeing what his rhythm and process is from a note-taking standpoint, what he's looking at, what's important to him. And then as the night goes on, okay, he's still here. Okay, what's he been doing? And I think that's what we're brand new together, and our offensive staff's brand new. So just us finding that routine together where we really feel confident in our preparation. And I think that's the one thing that you can count on with him. And he's kind of a very astute note-taker, where he's not talking a lot sometimes. Like he's in observation mode. And I think that if you study like people like that, that's like a really good trait. Because like sometimes people that talk a lot, they're really not saying anything. Like when Justin talks, you know that it means something, right? And so I really enjoy that about him. So he takes a lot in, he absorbs a lot. And then when he talks, you know that, you know, you need to be listening. And that's a great quality of his. And I think in the game planning process, that's what we're kind of learning about him right now.
Coach, given your past experiences, what's the biggest difference in game planning for a week 1 opponent versus when you're in the groove of a season, week 8, 9, and 10?
Yeah, there can be some unknowns, you know, based off who they have and what they, you know, in the preseason, what they've shown in the preseason. But there's some inventory on coordinators, and certainly, you know, even a quarterback like Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's played a lot of football, you kind of know his style of play. But I mean, I guess there's more unknowns for both coaches and players where once the rhythm of the season happens, like you get 3 or 4 weeks, okay, they've kind of expressed, okay, this is who we are. That element of surprise isn't there anymore. So going into the first game, there's always that element. And so there's nervousness, there's excitement with that, and that's why you have to just really trust your training and your preparation, and you got to make sure that you have clean game plans that your players can go execute best you can, because there are gonna be some things that you maybe didn't see. And that's okay. That's football. If you didn't see it, that's okay. We still have a foundation of the principles that we have to fall back on, and that's why early in the season you really try to make sure the best you can as coaches that your game plans can sort of absorb a lot of things that you haven't seen.
What does it mean for this defense to have Derwin James back?
It means a great deal, and I think everyone's aware of the record of this team without him, and the record of this team with him, and that's usually a great predictor of your value. And I know that not just from a pure player standpoint, but from a competitor leadership standpoint, you can't put a price or a value on the energy and the feeling that you have every day when he's there. And so, it's just a rare guy, and really glad we have him.
This is a team that's had a lot of early season struggles in recent years, and we've come back and hurt them. How aware are you of that? How much emphasis on the guys?
I'm aware of what's happened, but we're here, and I'm aware of kind of how we've done, where I've been, and the expectations that we have. And I think that the one thing about any new season is it's a new season, and I think no matter what level of ball you're in, how you start and where you finish are two different places. And sometimes you get off to a great start and you keep it that way. Sometimes you get off to a slow start and you keep it that way. Sometimes you start slow, finish fast, and vice versa. And I think that what we're trying to establish here is just a standard of performance where every day, no matter what it is, win or lose, that we have a standard of performance, a standard of preparation. And I think that that's what we've been able to kick off this week is our standard of performance when it comes to preparing to play a game. And it's not going to be that much different than how it was to prepare in training camp. And that's what I've enjoyed. Like, when you go out there today, it feels like it did 3 weeks ago preparing for the Niners in training camp. And that's what you want, is you want to create that environment where every day is important, not just when the regular season games start. And I think that we've been able to do that. And that's what the single biggest thing for me was coming here, was just establishing a standard of performance all the time that is not only measured in the regular season, it's measured every day. And that's what we're, after, and we'll see where it goes in terms of the wins, losses, here now that it's real.
Brandon, you have a very good secondary. What has impressed you most about those guys?
I think that they are all ball guys. I feel like we've created a really specific culture in there, and the coaching staff and the players coming together to play the way we want to play. We asked a lot of them, and I think the environment in there is where I want it to be. And when I say that is because I know where it's going to be, because I know how hungry these guys are. And I think these guys are becoming the type of competitors that we're looking for, because they've got really hard jobs out there on the field. The secondary in the NFL, with as many adjustments that you have to make mentally nowadays, and then physically what you have to do, being able to cover all these guys, and you got to be able to tackle. Now you got to be involved in the kicking game. There's just a lot that's required the way we play, and I think that group's really come together nicely. We got a nice blend of, veteran experience, brand new, in the middle, corner safety, a lot of versatility. So we're trying our best to keep making it better, and I love our coaching staff in that room. It's a premium DB environment, and I'm honored to be a part of it, because I get better every day that I'm in there too.
Brandon, has Asante Samuel officially won the second cornerback spot?
He has.
Do you think you've changed as a coach in the short time? Your philosophy as a coach, taking the job, and now, you've been here a number of months?
Yes, I think I have. I think you definitely changed. I think you're a lot more aware of the scope of the job. I think you have an idea. I think it's an excellent question, because I'm not the same. I'm a lot different, and you have to be, because there's so much more that comes to your plate that, not that you weren't expecting, but that, hey, this is the first time I'm doing this. You know, when I was a defensive coordinator, I had done all that before. You know, I'd done literally everything. You know, there wasn't a lot new coming across my desk, you know, in terms of from an operational standpoint. Whereas a head coach, there's a lot more that's new for me. And so I think that that's been exciting because it brings out the best in you. And I feel like I've gotten better as I've gone. You know, I every day there's still like so many things on the list that I didn't do well enough, but then you just wake up and you keep going. And I think that we've established a really good environment here with coaching staff and players, support staff. I'm surrounded by a lot of really good people who compliment me, who fill in a lot of my blind spots, a lot of my weaknesses. And I think that as you go as a head coach, you learn that it's always ongoing. You know, you're on call 24/7, and you better be, you know, and there's going to be some tough days, and I'm ready for them because I know they're coming. Now that it's, you know, you're in the regular season, there's going to be some losses or wins, you know, high moments, low moments, and I think what you try to do is you just try to stay consistent, be yourself, surround yourself with special people, and then you just keep moving. But I've learned a lot in however many months it's been, January, so however many months that's been, I've learned a lot, and you know, I don't see that happening anytime soon because I study all these coaches who have coached a lot longer than I have, who, man, like every year, just every day, you're getting so much better, you're learning so much, so I'm trying to be that way too.